You arrive in darkness long before you understand what darkness is. A slow pulse thrums through the world around you, the ancient rhythm of a mother whose warmth you will never truly know. You float in that quiet, blind cocoon, suspended in a body that is not shelter, not safety, just a temporary chamber where instinct waits to ignite. Then the pressure changes. Something tightens. The whole world contracts around you. And before you have a name for fear, you feel it, the push, the squeeze, the first violence you will ever know. Light pierces through a slit in the world, thin and milky, and suddenly, you are forced out of the only home you've ever had. You slide onto the damp floor of a prehistoric swamp, your scales slick, your lungs tasting open air for the first time. You don't understand that your birth is different, that your kind is one of the rare serpents who bear live young, bypassing the fragility of eggs. All you sense is that the heat presses close, thick as breath, and the world is too loud, too bright, too enormous. You move anyway. You don't know why. Instinct is a soft hand on your back, urging you forward. Behind you, your mother barely glances. Her massive silhouette glides away, indifferent to your first trembling moments of life. This isn't cruelty, it's design. Snakes evolve to let their young face the world alone, to spend their energy on survival rather than nurturing. But to you, a creature only minutes old, it feels like abandonment. You watch her vanish into the foliage, a mountain of scale and muscle, 50 feet long, heavier than the steel machines that humans will one day create, and you realize how small you truly are. 3 feet of fragile life in a jungle built for giants. Around you, the Paleocene world breathes. It is hot enough to blur the horizon, humid enough to weigh your body down, a perfect cradle for colossi. Scientists will one day say the global temperature hovers near 86 degrees Fahrenheit, the air thick with greenhouse gases. Back here, it's simply oppressive. Trees stretch like cathedral pillars upward into choking canopies, and everything alive seems oversized. Turtles big as shields, crocodiles longer than boats, insects with wings like paper fans. In this realm of swollen life, you are born already hunted. You sense movement before you can define danger. Something splashes in the water nearby, stirring mud and silence. Your body freezes, the way prey does, though you're meant to be a predator someday. You smell life everywhere, warm, pulsing, vulnerable, but you don't yet know how to take it. For now, you crawl, belly pressed to the earth, tasting the world through the flicker of your tongue. Every scent is a story, every vibration a warning. Everything feels too close, and deep inside, something older than thought unfurls. You are Titanoboa cerriginensis, heir to a lineage that survived the asteroid that erased the dinosaurs. Your blood carries the blueprint of giants. Your bones are soft now, delicate, but they will thicken into a living coil strong enough to crush ancient crocodiles. You don't know this yet. All you know is the heat, the hunger, and the truth that no one is coming back for you. A buzzing cloud settles on a carcass nearby, the half-eaten remains of something larger than you'll be for years. The smell is sweet and rotting, filling your lungs with a sharpness that makes you recoil. Death is your first teacher, telling you what you may become, what you may avoid, what you may one day cause. There is no comfort here, no lullaby, only breath, and the knowledge that breath can stop. Your tiny heart beats faster. The swamp shimmers around you, and somewhere in that unbearable heat, you realize that living begins with leaving, shedding the safety of the world you came from, and entering the one waiting to swallow you whole. You push deeper into the swamp because there is nowhere else to go. The air wraps around you like a damp shroud, heavy with the scent of mud, algae, and distant blood. Every movement you make feels clumsy, untested, as if your muscles and instincts are still negotiating what it means to be alive. But you keep going, because survival is a rhythm older than thought, older even than fear. Hunger arrives early. It gnaws at you with an ache that feels almost personal, as though the world itself demands payment for letting you exist. You search for something small enough to overpower, tongue flicking, tasting trails left by creatures that would flee in terror if they saw what you will one day become. But right now, they don't fear you. They barely notice you. A frog leaps across your path, bright green, loud enough to shatter the stillness. You strike, awkward and slow, missing completely. Instinct mocks you. Hunger sharpens you. You try again. This time, you catch the frog by luck more than skill. It struggles, legs kicking, heart pounding fast enough for you to feel it through your jaw. You don't understand cruelty. You don't understand mercy. You only understand need. When it stops moving, the world grows quiet again, the swamp humming around you as if nothing important has happened. But something has. You learn that survival tastes warm, metallic, alive. Still, the world remains unforgiving. Every shadow seems to hide something larger, hungrier. The Paleocene isn't a gentle place. Crocodiles lurk in waters too murky to read. Turtles the size of modern car tires bask lazily, but even they could crush you beneath a misplaced step. Birds glide above with wings wide enough to block the sun, watching for anything small enough to snatch. You weave through roots and vines, growing into yourself, practicing the movements that will one day define your power. Yet danger is not always loud. Sometimes it is subtle, a ripple in the water, a shift in the air. You are still young enough that your skin feels soft, your bones flexible. A predator could snap you in half with little effort. When a shadow glides beneath the surface of a nearby pond, you freeze completely, every muscle stiffened into silence. The shadow glides closer. You hold your breath. The water breaks. Just a harmless ancient fish surfacing. Relief floods you, though you don't have words for relief. You only feel the release of tension, the instinct to move again. You learn to swim long before you learn your own strength. Your wide, flat body carries you through the water with surprising ease. Here the world is cooler, quieter. Your senses sharpen in the stillness, vibrations traveling along your belly like whispers. And in these waters, you discover how vast your hunger truly is. A small bird lands at the water's edge, dipping its beak to drink. You glide toward it, smooth, silent. Your strike is quicker this time, deliberate. When the bird disappears into your jaws, a new certainty forms inside you. You will survive this world, not by chance, but by design. But survival is never a guarantee. Nights arrive with deeper cold and stranger sounds. The jungle transforms into a cathedral of darkness, and every noise becomes a question. Something crashes through the underbrush once. Enormous, steady, unconcerned. You hide beneath a fallen tree, trembling. While the footsteps fade, you don't know which creature passed. You just know it could have ended you without noticing. Life teaches you humility, one close call at a time. Weeks become months, and you grow slowly, shedding your skin in pale, ghost-like sheets. Each shedding feels like a small death and a quiet rebirth. Your body leaving behind what can't protect you anymore. You feel the world differently. Sense sharpen, vibrations travel farther, hunger presses harder. You begin to understand that everything in this swamp exists in a brutal equation. Eat or be eaten. You choose the first option again and again because the second one terrifies you even without words. And somewhere between the kills and the close escapes, you begin to sense the truth. You are rising towards something vast, ancient, inevitable. The jungle still threatens you, but slowly, painfully, you are becoming something it will one day fear. You grow into your body the way storms grow into clouds. Slowly, then all at once. What begins as a fragile length of muscle and instinct becomes a force woven into the architecture of the swamp. Your coils thicken, your strikes sharpen, and your hunger stretches far beyond the small, trembling creatures that once sustained you. You feel the shift inside you long before the world feels it outside. The moment childhood ends and something colder, more relentless, takes its place. You sense the first real test when your belly brushes against the grooves left by a massive reptile, wide marks in the mud, lined like scars. A prehistoric crocodile, larger than anything you have faced, powerful enough to drown you, crush you, or tear you apart. You follow the trail anyway, not because you seek danger, but because instinct whispers that you must know the world that threatens you. You slip into the water, body flattening, heart beating in a steady rhythm that feels older than your species. The crocodile rises from the depths, like a memory of the dinosaurs that just disappeared from this planet a few million years ago. Its eyes break the surface, golden and unblinking, fixed on you. For a moment, the two of you float there, two predators divided by age. It is the ancient, weathered champion of this swamp. You are the newcomer still learning the patterns of your own strength. The crocodile lunges first. Water explodes around you. You twist, barely evading the snapping jaws that could have shattered your spine. Something switches inside you. Not courage, something simpler, more primal. You coil, slow and deliberate, feeling the water wrap around your body as if helping you choose your angles. When the crocodile lunges again, you wrap around its midsection, much too small to truly overpower it, but strong enough to make it hesitate. The two of you thrash through the water in a violent ballet, ancient and wordless. Eventually, the crocodile escapes and swims off, more annoyed than injured. But the lesson remains. One day, you will not need to escape. You grow, you molt, you sharpen, and the world changes its relationship to you. Prey no longer scurries from you. It flees in terror. Birds that once mock you from branches now silence themselves when you approach. Turtles retreat into their shells as if their ancestors have whispered warnings about your future. When you find a giant tortoise sunning itself on a rock, you slither up with quiet mastery. It retreats into bone armor, believing in a safety that has protected it for millions of years. It does not understand that the age of Titanoboa rewrites the rules. Your muscles coil, slow and unyielding, and the shell that once seemed invincible bends under your pressure. You feed for hours, swallowing piece after piece, until the world feels slow and full and heavy. Predator becomes identity, not a choice, not a role, a truth built into bone and muscle. When you slide through the swamp, you feel the earth respond, as if the jungle itself bows to the promise of your power. Everything about you is exaggerated by this world. Your lungs built to warm your cold blood in the Paleocene heat. Your muscles thickened by the same humidity that would smother lesser creatures. Your senses tuned to the vibration of every heartbeat around you. And yet, power has its own hunger. You feel it most clearly when mating season arrives. A season where survival and violence merge into one ritual. The scent of a female curls through the air like a lure. You follow it to a fallen tree, only to find chaos. Males fighting, bodies coiling, jaws clamping down in battles where victory is nothing more than the right to approach her. You watch one snake kill another, crushing him until the swamp swallows his limp shape. Then comes the part evolution designed with merciless honesty. The victor approaches the female, driven by instinct older than the continents. The moment mating ends, she coils around him, tightens, and ends his life. She swallows him whole, his triumph turning instantly into his doom. You slip away before instinct tempts you to join the ritual. Even power must fear something, and in your world, desire is as dangerous as predators. You retreat into the deeper wetlands, heavy with the knowledge that survival is never just about strength. It is also about timing, restraint, and the wisdom to know which impulses lead to life and which ones lead to being devoured. You feel the shift long before you understand it. The world that once nurtured your rise begins to sour against you, its warmth thinning, its breath cooling. The swamp that fed you, hid you, protected your ascent now changes its scent, its temperature, its very pulse. You notice it first in the prey, the way the tortoises shrink generation by generation, how the crocodiles retreat deeper into the murk, how birds take to the air sooner, faster, as if something in their bones warns them that the earth is preparing to turn against its giants. You hunt, still, but the world hunts you back in quieter ways. The Paleocene heat that once wrapped your body in heavy comfort begins to falter. Nights cool faster, mornings sting with a sharpness you've never felt, and your blood struggles to warm. You bask for longer, motionless on fallen logs that now crack under your weight. But the sun no longer feels like an ally. It flickers weakly through branches that used to drip with humidity. Evolution itself begins to whisper betrayal. Your prey grows smaller, too quick to track for long. Instead of giant turtles, you find only half-sized cousins, skittish and sharp-eyed. Crocodiles still exist, but their young hatch thinner, faster, harder to overpower. What was once a kingdom built for your size becomes a maze designed for those who can slip, sprint, scatter. You, colossal and cold-blooded, were made for abundance. But scarcity sharpens its knives. You push deeper into the swamp, searching for the old warmth, but the mud is colder there. The water, once thick and tepid, now chills your belly as you glide through it. You rise to the surface, inhaling air that bites the edges of your lungs. This world no longer wants a creature like you. Scientists millions of years later will say global temperatures fell by just a few degrees. But a few degrees can be fatal when your entire body depends on the sun's generosity. You find fewer places to hunt. The dense vegetation thins. The shadows lengthen. You move slower. Your once fluid strikes now hesitant. Hunger returns with a childish cruelty reminding you of your earliest days, but now your body is too large to satisfy easily. One meal no longer sustains you. You need giants, and the world is running out of them. Instinct urges you to keep moving, but every motion costs more energy than you can spare. Even the swamp floor feels different beneath your weight, less forgiving, more brittle. The earth itself is changing, shifting under the pressure of a climate that no longer favors creatures built from the blueprint of excess. You encounter another Titanoboa once, a female, enormous and weary. Her body carries the same slowness as yours, her tongue flickering with a faint tremor. You circle each other, not as competitors, not as mates, but as relics. Both of you feel it. The end is not dramatic. It is not a battle or a hunt gone wrong. It is the quiet, creeping erasure of a world that no longer makes room for giants. She disappears into the underbrush, leaving a smooth trail in the mud. You never see her again. Days become indistinguishable. You rest more often, coil more tightly, as if conserving warmth could shape the climate back into your favor. But nature is indifferent. The swamps dry in places, turning patches of thick mud into cracked earth. Prey becomes memory, hunger becomes companion, and strength becomes a ghost. Eventually, instinct guides you toward a cave, a dark, cool chamber carved into the hillside. You slip inside, not to hunt, not to ambush, but simply to stop moving. For the first time in your life, the jungle outside feels too large to face. You settle against the stone, your breath slow, your body heavy with years. 30, perhaps 40, a long life for your kind. A brief flicker compared to the millions of years your species ruled. You lie there, not with fear, but with a dim understanding that your story is ending. Your coils loosen, your hunger quiets. The last breath you take is shallow, tired, but strangely peaceful. You exhale, half asleep, half extinct, unaware that this darkness will cradle you for longer than your species ever lived. Outside, the world continues without you. New species rise, new predators claim the swamps. Time moves forward, dragging the earth through epochs and extinctions until even your memory dissolves. And yet, deep in that cave, your bones wait, patient, silent, untouched, for someone to find you, to remember what the world once needed to survive, and what it eventually chose to let go. Millions of years pass in the darkness after your final breath, though you never perceive the slow churn of epochs around you. Your bones lie buried beneath layers of earth that stack like forgotten chapters, pressed under jungles that rise and fall, under oceans that come and withdraw, under mountains that lift and erode. Time reshapes the world the way rivers carve stone, patient, deliberate, without mercy. The swamp that once held you shrivels into memory, replaced by forests, by rivers, by minds dug by hands that have never imagined creatures like you. Yet your spine, curled in its final resting place, remains intact, as if waiting for someone to ask the question the world itself forgot to answer. You do not witness the pickaxe striking stone above you. You do not feel the tremor of boots walking across the earth you once ruled. But if you could, you would sense the curiosity in those miners, the way their voices rise in disbelief when rock breaks to reveal a curve of bone so massive it does not fit their understanding of scale. They do not know your name. They do not know your story. They only know that the world beneath their feet has just given birth to something impossible. Light touches you for the second time in 60 million years, the first since the day you were born. It glints off your rib, your vertebrae, the remnants of what once wrapped prey in coils strong enough to snap ancient crocodiles like twigs. The miners freeze, breath hitching, because they know instinctively that they are looking at something older than language. News spreads. Scientists arrive. Brushes replace pickaxes. Silence replaces laughter. Piece by piece, they free you from the prison of time. They debate your shape, your identity, your purpose. They guess at monsters before recognizing a serpent far greater than any in human memory. When they uncover your skull, heavy, sculpted, unmistakably predatory, the world shifts. Something ancient stirs in human imagination. Not fear, not worship, but awe. You become a symbol of an earth that once dared to build giants. An earth that once had the heat, the oxygen, the abundance to birth living titans. You will never know that you become famous. That documentaries speak your name with reverence. That children stare wide-eyed at museum reconstructions, imagining your coils rippling through steaming jungles. You will never know that your existence rewrites what people thought possible for reptiles. You will never know that in death, you become larger than you ever were in life, not in size, but in myth. Your story becomes a reminder that the world was once stranger, wilder, more untamed than modern minds can easily accept. And yet, beneath that wonder, there is a quieter truth. You were not a monster, not a legend, not a villain or a god. You were simply a creature doing what all creatures do, rising, hungering, mating, surviving, dying. Your grandeur was never personal, it was ecological. You were the shape the world needed when the air was thick and the heat was heavy. When that world cooled, you did not fail. You simply no longer fit the equation. That is the quiet tragedy of nature. Every life is perfectly designed for a moment that eventually ends. If you could reflect, if thought had bloomed inside your ancient brain the way it blooms in the minds of those who study your bones, perhaps you would understand this. You would see that your struggle was not pointless, that extinction is not failure, that your species lived for millions of years in a form so perfect the world had to change to erase it. You would understand that the land remembers every creature it ever shaped, even the ones time tried to bury. You would see that life is not measured in comfort, but in impact, and your impact was written not in stories, but in stone. And maybe, in that understanding, you would realize a final truth. You were never meant to survive forever. You were meant to show the world what life becomes when heat is a constant, when abundance is law, when nature experiments with size, like an artist pushing the limits of its canvas. Your coils once ruled a world that could hold giants. Your bones now rest in a world that can only imagine them. And so your existence becomes a bridge between eras, a reminder that all things rise, all things fall, and nothing stays large forever. You were born in heat, shaped by hunger, undone by cold, and immortalized by discovery. A creature meant for an ancient world, remembered by a modern one.